Peace, everyone. Peace. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We give thanks for this seventh day that we rest from our work. Welcome to our Sabbath Aftershow. We are premiering on our YouTube channel for the second time. So thank you, everyone, for joining. Today, we are following up Chief Yuya's Sabbath Insight, where he just spoke about polygamy truth from a polygamist. Oh my goodness. It was a wealth of gems. I was like, wow, this is condensed. If you missed it, go to the Anu Life Global YouTube channel and take a look, because we are following up that segment. So I'll just briefly kind of share what this segment was about. I know in the study session last night he spoke, it was mainly for the men, but I was like, whoa, this is a lot in here for the women too. It's like we're both getting it. But yeah, just from speaking about how to spot someone who is lowly, and he gave tips on how to be a good wife. He gave it was so many aspects. I cannot like condense it into a summary. It was that good. Peace, everyone. As we can greet the chat. Peace, Master Menelik. Peace, Michael. Peace, Safta Hava. Peace, Akoti Yafe and Aki El Karar. Aki Zach. I'm sorry, Aki Isaiah. Yeah, of course, we have House Yuya, and peace, Sovereign E. So Akoti Maria. Peace.
Oh man. I will say, Master, he opened up and he said this is gonna be one of those segments you're gonna have to go back and watch. And you probably gonna watch it 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times.
It's definitely one of those.
It was oh man.
I was like, he dropped the holy mic on this one, how fast he was giving the scripture. I was like, whoa, boom, like it's like you dropped the mic, like enough said. I ain't gotta revisit this topic anymore. Y'all got it.
But that's someone you can tell has been doing the work, who they put in the work to know it like that on the drop of a dime. And I thought it was great, because as we are helpmeets in his house and we are supposed to reflect him, I just think that's a great example of, this is what we're supposed to be reflecting also. Like when we go out into the world, we should be able to, spit some scriptures and, keep our sword sharp. So.
Exactly, which goes to like the first point I was actually going to share when he was pointing out, okay, this is the aspects of a good wife. He spoke about she has to study the laws of the Most High. Like she has to like know that in and out. Know it. Because it's like, what's going to keep you functioning right? If you don't have anything to lean on and be like, well, I'm doing this because of the culture, but also because there are laws that I'm in alignment with, and I'm firm on that. I'm standing, tall in that as a woman, and right. So.
Yeah, that was a good point. That was a good opener, good primer. I think, to me, I just saw the whole segment as Torah. Like Torah is the solution for whatever issue that you have. Torah is the solution. It's like Torah Rabba Hashem le Torah, because many of us, we suffer in ways that we don't actually have to suffer. But it comes at a great length to just accept that this is the solution. You know what I mean? We don't need the Kool-Aid, the watered down feminist energy. We don't need the quote unquote church. We don't need that. All you need is Torah. That's it. So I appreciated that more than anything on this segment.
Yeah, absolutely. Even the aspect when he spoke about that time where the woman is like, she is away from her husband, and how she has to be like, her self-esteem comes from the Most High Yah. And so there's something that she has to be doing and have herself like involved in, where she's not over there worried about, her husband. It's like, and you don't have those insecurities and things of that nature. Yeah, I remember mentioning, I think it was on the last live that we did, but just speaking about like how we all have a purpose, and it's like, okay, what are you doing outside of your relationship? Like, what are you bringing? Like what,
Mhm.
you know, so it's like you have to be working on something, you know.
Something, doing that work. I mean, even last night in the study session when he talked about people who may come into our new and and they may have certain issues, and we all do. We all, I mean, the whole point, I knew, is a hospital, but that's not a thing to just say, well, 5 years and I knew I still haven't changed.
Right,
It's a
right,
hospital, but
right.
it's to recognize like we all are here to ultimately be healed from a lot of the sicknesses that we do have. And
Mhm.
I just think about how much work are we putting in to be better, suitable helpmeets, and to be wives and to be husbands. And I just thought that the way that he came at the message today wasn't just, well, I'm just talking to the men or I'm just talking to the women, but it's like, no, this is the reality of it all. Like, this is how the things that we need to do, the work we need to do to be able to come together to be who we are actually meant to be, to live in the purpose that we're supposed to live in. And I appreciated that back to back from last night's study session to today's Sabbath message. So I
Yeah.
would encourage those who are watching to also go back and watch the 3-part study session from last night.
Mhm.
They kept us down, but there are 3 videos, but they were all full of just great insight and great jewels and gems that we should be taking away, applying.
Yeah, and there was a question asked to the women in the study session last night, like what was our thoughts on the warrior stance outside of like the aesthetic, and what I
Mhm.
attempted to answer it, but I found out was like I was a little off. But he was sharing like, okay, well there are women who are still homemakers who are abiding by law and they're doing the right thing, and I thought about the Titus too when
Mhm.
the elder woman is teaching the younger sisters to be sober and to honor their husbands, and I thought about that, and
Mhm.
he mentioned it today in today's live, so I was like,
Being sober.
okay.
And
Hmm.
what does that sober mean to you? Like, because the first thing I can tell you, the first thing that came to my mind when I heard sober, but what did that mean to you? Like,
I think about like someone who is rooted in the reality of things,
mhm,
like the level of seriousness, like there's a level of soberness that you need to have, like, hey, this is what you do,
mhm,
and there's a level of seriousness, like, okay, all right, this is what, you're not in a fantasy, or you're not playing immature games. It's like you're completely
mhm.
sober. That's what comes to my mind. What about you?
Yeah, it took me to the I knew way, and that woman
Mhm.
being balanced and centered in her heart, and not leaning too much towards fantasy, and
Mhm.
but you're clear on what it is, what needs to happen, what you need to be doing, and where you're going. You know,
Mhm.
so that's what I thought about. But yeah, that aspect is definitely needed, and it's also a charge because we're right now we're helpmeets in the house of Yuya, but there will be a point in time where we'll be the older women that have to teach the younger ones when they come in, like, okay, this is what
Yeah,
this is how you need to be. So
yeah, and sometimes that
uh-oh.
comes later. Sometimes that comes sooner than later, because I remember when he was breaking down the mother father, I think it was the mother father podcast on the Chief
Wisdom.
Yuya. If you go to chiefyuya.com, I think was the wisdom, mother wisdom. It might have been that one. It was one of those segments. Uh-oh, I got a little distracted by the chat.
I know,
um,
I see some things
but
happening.
yeah, he was speaking about like sometimes you may not even be like elder age, but you've been called forth to actually like teach those who are maybe even older than you. But it's because of the
Mhm,
level of like wisdom that you have and the level of cultivation that you have, that you actually like, all right, I actually
mhm,
can share some wisdom and some wise words.
mhm.
He was sharing like how he is not like considered technically an elder, but he's been like he teach a lot of people who are older, younger, and but yeah.
And just think about what all had to be sacrificed,
Mhm.
and his level of submission to the Most High in order to do that, what she was called forth to do. So that's a beautiful thing. It may seem like, oh, this is hard work, but you're doing the work of the Most High. This is what the Most High has called you to do. So even as we're growing, and there may be young women out there who's like, I want to be a wife, I want to be a mother, I want to be, and I want to be a part of the community.
Mm-hmm.
This is a lot of sacrifice, and there's submission to the Most High in order to be those things. I think about that.
Our new radio says, I think of not turning to vices or addictions. I'm not sure what you're referring to.
I think when we were talking about the being sober.
Okay.
And I said, well, what's the first thing that comes to mind? But she says addiction. What was it? Addiction and vices. Have you ever had any addictions or anything that you had to maybe just come out of? Or I can say for me, I'm gonna just throw it out there, since this is the Sabbath Insight and we're sharing wisdom. But let's see. I think one that I'm working on is that addiction to, like, what am I trying to say? Like emotions, like everything gotta be like, I gotta feel something in order to do something. So it's like an addiction. Okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes that comes with this, like being sober in the word, in Torah. So being able to have that emotional maturity, or to say like, okay, well, what's going on? What you feeling? What you thinking? Why are you thinking that? And what does Torah say? And then it kind of brings you back,
Not on emotion, but I would say it's kind of funny. I would say I won't necessarily call it an addiction, but it was a great distraction. Just like kind of like, eating edibles. And I mentioned this before when we were doing like the midday affirmatives and stuff. And I'll say that because at the time it's like, you're supposed to be, a wife and a mother, and you over here, engage in this activity and saying like when Chief was sharing like what he was sharing, like watch those movies. Like I always use it as a form of meditation, but it was a distraction, something that I wasn't sober in those moments, so that's something that I've done away with, that I can look at like, yeah, you shouldn't have been doing that. Like that's a shame,
No, I thought you said you only ate the edible one time. I thought you said it was one time. Okay.
Nah.
I missed that part of the story. Oh boy. Well, look at you now. Look at where you at now. No more edibles. Look at that. Look at ya.
Sabta Hava says, I think of being sober as focused on the Most High Yah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, says, I think of being clear-headed when I hear sober. Okay, so going back to Sabta Hava's comment, she think of being sober as being focused on the Most High Yah. So, I mean, that's
takes scripture.
Yes.
Scripture. Proverbs 3:5, trust in Hashem with all thine heart, lean not on thine own understanding, but in all ways acknowledge him, and he shall guide thy path. It's like, it literally just everything you do, like you literally have to be like, all right, I gotta find Yah in this before I step foot and do anything. Because you know what I mean? Like, just keeping your focus on Yah. Like, am I pleasing Yah? If I do it this way, is it pleasing to him? I think about the time, Master, we were on a live. I don't know if you remember this, but we were on a live, and I think this was before I came into I Knew, and it was me, you, and I think Akoti Yafe, and he asked like, okay, how do you clean your kitchen?
Yeah, I remember.
How would you clean your kitchen? And the point he was making was like, okay, you clean your kitchen the way you want to clean it, but you never ask the Most High Yah, how does he want you to clean the kitchen? So it takes me back to that.
Yeah. Because I think of being clear-headed when I hear sober. When you say that, I think about emotional maturity, not being so emotional, and everything you do is like based on how you feel, or you're being a distraction and a headache within a family because like you're feeling certain things instead of being sober and like leaning on law, leaning on Torah, and like, hey, like, he said, like, am I supposed to be feeling like this? Like, go to scripture and see, like, am I supposed to be acting like this? That was deep, like, because the issues that we have, we just go and find a scripture or a situation that is the same and see like how it panned out or how it was resolved. I thought that was really good because he spoke about the steps to healing, and he named 4 steps. So I wonder if anybody wrote it down or retained that. If so, definitely throw it in the chat. I'm gonna share mine, but it's one of those segments that I got to go back and rewind, like we were saying. But I think I got them. I think I got those 4 steps.
I got some notes. I'll share them if you ain't got them. I got
notes. Yeah, I got some. I'm gonna definitely go back. I got some notes, but all those scriptures that he was banging, I was like, I definitely didn't get all those.
I don't think it.
Yuya says that is what she said 81 times. Plot thickens.
See, I thought so. I was like,
I don't even remember. Yeah, that must have been one big fat lie because I don't even I don't remember.
Oh man.
Koti Yabe says, yeah, not. Oh, what'd you say? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, we was reading the same thing.
Koti Yabe says, yeah, not to be drunk on emotions. Absolutely.
No.
Yeah, we're charged not to function in that way. That can cause a lot of problems. Now, I mean, not just in a polygamous situation, but in a monogamous relationship, and even just with friends and relatives. That, I mean, that's a headache, I think, to anybody to have to, like, interact with someone who is drunk in their emotions.
Yeah, I think we experienced that even in this house. It's just like, oh, you gotta do some work because you still got some things that ain't been handled. So it's like, yeah, but that's part of the grace, and then that's part of, like, you're in a community and you're in an environment that pushes you and charges you to do those things, or you won't last.
Yeah.
You won't. And I think we see that, like he mentioned last night, when people leave, you don't really know why. You thinking from the outside it's, something that masterminded it. It's like, nah, because he's giving you everything you need. Like, he's giving you the medicine. So,
Yeah. I just wanted to share, like, some of the things that were shared in terms of for the women. When he mentioned, like, a wife has to study the laws of the Most High. She has to be honest. She has to communicate often, leaving no room for misunderstanding, keeping the environment organized, and finding out what her man's needs are, and being he said a good woman is being obedient as well. But I think about the communicate often, leave no room for misunderstanding. I think this is a challenge, like, even sometimes in our house, where he often to say, like, okay, if you're gonna say something, like, don't let it be a waste of words. Like, mean what you're gonna say. I think that's even an example of, like, it can lead to misunderstanding, because it's like, okay, well, why are you saying that? It's like, so it's like, I think it's those nuances too. Like, let me speak. I think that's a part of being sober as well. Everything that I speak, it means something. I'm not just ranting or just, like some people call it verbal diarrhea. You just gotta just going. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think of intention when you talk about that, or like your words, like everything has to be intentional. And I mean, I'm still going back to trusting Yah and, like, putting Yah first, because sometimes that's a challenge you overcoming. So, where she went? Where you go?
I'm back.
Where she go? I'm just talking. But like, even, I guess, even before you open up your mouth and speak, like, sometimes it might say, okay, have a conversation with Yah before you have that conversation with your mate or with your family, because we're not gonna say wives, but, and really, like, ask Yah, not like ask for the words, like ask for that clarity of heart, so that when you are speaking, you're not just ranting and things like that. And that's hard. I know Master said, like, sometimes it's hard for us to accept, like, Torah is what it is, like, that's the solution. So going back to trusting in Torah and trusting in the word and trusting in Yah before you do anything. So even in communication.
Yeah. Yafe says, Chief always says yes or no. Questions mean yes or no answers. Anything else is confusion. Yeah, I get stuck on that. Like, there's been times when, like, I did not answer yes or no. I'm like, oh.
Did or do. He's like, did or do requires yes or no.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't know if you've ever had that experience, but in the moment, sometimes when he's saying that, it's almost like a surrendering. And I guess it's the internal, there's an internal battle because there's a part of you that does want to try to be slick or want to try to start saying da 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 da. But then there's a part of you like, just girl, just give up, just give in, just stop, right? Wave the flag and just answer the question, and don't worry about whether whatever your answer is going to cause like like something bad to happen or you're going to get in trouble or whatever. Like, just answer the question.
Right. Yes. There's power and weakness. Just bend in those moments and submit and just follow instructions. Right. A good woman is obedient. So I think like living or yes, studying the laws, but also like modeling, like living it too. And I think in those moments, the more you do so, the more when those moments come, you like, all right, you flowing, you flowing, you like yes or no, you like yes. No, you like you on it. You on it. So
oh man.
Stuff that how it says we can't hide behind a good okay. Comments kind of ran away.
You got to stop the Hobbit says we can't hide behind a few good qualities. We must work to achieve and live out all the fruits of the Spirit. Absolutely. And those few good qualities, I guess we could revert it back to the submissive woman, the new age submissive woman. I cook, I clean, I shut up. And
oh my goodness.
It's like, all right. It's just, that ain't it, sis. But really being able to cultivate the fruit or the spirit of the Most High Yah within you. And I just think about, Master has taught about like being able to cultivate or pull out the best parts that's in us. Sometimes those parts are sleep, and we tend to lean too much on all of the negative things, like the Babylon culture said, if I cook, I clean, if I shut up, then I'll be but it's like, no, how much do you give? Do you have a giving heart? Are you kind? You know what I mean? Things like that. So
I do think about like the audience, like what was that woman trying to like appeal to? What type of like, if it's not like true and like, okay, I'm not really living this, but I'm gonna create a song, like, is it like, I don't know, it just seems really messed up. Like, are you trying to pull those women who are actually striving and make it seem like a joke? Like, I just wonder, like, wow, what the, hey, it's like when people use the word hotep and they start saying, oh, them hotep, dot, 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 dot. And it's like, dang, like you didn't twist and mangled up a good word. And now, you have someone kind of say, I cook. I'm like, yeah, those are good qualities. But it's like, why are you like, what is your intention? Because meanwhile, you're saying that you're over here acting, you're loud. And that was one of the things that was taught, like a woman with a quiet, meek spirit. And that wasn't being present. So I do wonder, like, well, what was your intention then? Because it doesn't seem like it was coming from that standpoint of like, I'm living Torah or I'm living by the laws of the Most High Yah.
When you ask that question, I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that. Like, what was her intent to do a song like that? But then we think about the devil, right? Quote unquote, the devil. And in our 120 lessons, like we learn, of course, the devil's kingdom is the exact opposite of what Yah's kingdom is. So it's everything flipped. So you take a word like submission and then you flip it and you give it worldly meaning to appeal to those who are in the world. But I just think about, again, going back to that, like being sober, like if you have that Torah inside of you, the difference. Like this is some foolishness.
Yeah.
But then here we are. I won't say we're necessarily fighting Babylon culture, but we're presenting on this platform, like we're presenting like, okay, let's break that down. Let's talk about it. And let's present you with something different. Let's present you with righteous culture. So maybe we are grabbing the attentions of young sisters who are, they may not necessarily be in the world, but they may just be lost or don't know what path to get on. So this is a beautiful, beautiful thing.
I agree. Master Menelek says steps to emotional healing. Okay, so he named the 4 steps. Step 1, peel back the layers of the onion till you get to the core of the emotional issue. Let me see if I got that one. All right, second one is ask yourself, why do I feel this way? And wait for the answer. All right. Third step, ask yourself, does the way I feel or think, is it in alignment with scripture? Okay. And then I know 4 was to break down, accept the healing and solutions that are found in scripture. Find specific scriptures and Torah that help your situation and meditate on it day and night. Okay, I got something different. I got
Yeah,
different,
I
but
was about to say my steps a little different, but some of them
yeah,
they all went under step 1. So I'm like, okay.
yeah, that's why I was curious what everybody had got for those 4 steps. But
You know,
thank you for sharing. Maybe everyone will kind of go back and kind of like, I know I'm gonna go back and like, all right, let me let me
good night.
re-listen.
Right after this live, we going back. We might need to
Mm-hmm.
have a study session based off of it.
I know that would be good. That would be great. That would be a good stay session bill.
Mm-hmm.
Because like a lot of us do not do that, and that may be why we're single, or we haven't been able to conjoin in union with anyone, or we struggle. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm curious to know if any of the women who were in the chat, whether you're I knew member or not, did you guys do what Master said when he said start right now? Did you guys start on step 1? And if you did, share. Come on live and share maybe something that you had to do right in the moment in terms of step 1 for that healing. Come and share.
the link should be pinned in the chat. So if you want to jump on, you ain't got no restrictions on here. So all right,
Come on.
so we got Master Menelik says the submissive woman can be considered a market segment in terms of motivations behind those type of songs or content. A market segment. So you're trying to market to a certain group of people or women. I mean, I guess it can be men and women.
Mm-hmm.
We market to both. Um, yeah, because I do know with like some TV shows, they are speaking more like about polygyny, and they do have those terms. They like throw them around, so it's like it's in the media, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just like I do wonder like, well, what is the motivation? Like, what is like, or maybe trying to create a narrative like we can't slow this thing down, so let's try
Mm-hmm.
to maybe create a narrative what we want them to kind of perceive or look at this as,
I think about, I guess when you said that, for some reason, my mind went to Aretha Franklin.
Okay.
And I remember her, like, this whole thing of like, she's the queen, and you make me feel like a natural woman, and all these terms that was supposed to surround her. And just
Mm-hmm.
this is what a woman is, this is what a queen is. And those terms were used in her music, right? But I remember Master even talking about when he did the Jezebel series, I think, and he was saying, well,
Mm-hmm.
this is just a big, I ain't gonna say the word. Starts with an H, is with the
Mm-hmm.
but he was saying this is what this is, right? But it was like, okay, how was that person displayed? Like physically, how did she display herself, or what was her story like, or her life? What did it reflect? So even though she was using these words or these terms, and we tried to associate that, we could say that was a symbol. She was a symbol.
Mm-hmm.
We were trying to associate that with, this is what makes a woman. This is what makes a queen. You know what I mean? So I
Mm-hmm.
guess sometimes we're looking at the intent, but you can look at the visual, like what's being manifested in the physical realm, that we can look at and see, okay, that doesn't match with what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. When she said, "I'm every woman," it's all in me. It's like
Jezebel. That's what Master taught me. I'm every woman. It's
right.
all in, oh, well, if all the answers are in you, why would you need Torah?
Right. She the woman that be having the different wigs. Like, I'm gonna try to be this character. I'm gonna try to be this woman. Like, it's all in you. Okay. You gonna get
Well,
your
you
feelings
do that.
hurt.
You do that. Well, we see where it got her. I mean, I'm not, but we see, yeah, that wasn't the move.
Mhm.
That wasn't the move.
Master Menelik says, traditional wife is another term that's thrown around. Okay. So that, yeah,
Traditional.
yeah, traditional wife. So is she
So
like the pick me? I wonder if she's like the pick-me woman,
Or
or
is it the woman that wants to cook, that wants to clean, that wants to, take care of her husband? Like, is it that, the traditional wife? Oh, okay. Yeah.
okay, because I actually don't have any issue with that term traditional wife, but I don't know the context in which how they use it in the media. It could be thrown around negatively, or so I'm not sure like how it's being used, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But traditional wife, I mean, I think about original culture, originality. Those are the things I think. I was like, I don't think nothing wrong with it, but oh shoot, good.
Just
I knew
because
Reggie.
she cooks clean.
Mm-hmm.
Master said, just because she cooks clean, F's, and shuts up, it doesn't mean she is submissive. It could be transactional. That's true. I'm going to do this so I can get that. If you
Mm-hmm.
have a sexual history, you are not Afro-Shemitic traditional. You have a sexual history.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess if every action that you're doing, I'm assuming is to be able to have a sexual interaction with another person, then that doesn't mean you're truly living in a way that says I'm submissive. It's just everything is for sex, I guess.
Yeah, I think not just like sex, but anything that you may want something. It may be like money or whatever your motivation is for interacting with that person. It may not be like you may be like, oh, let me cook, let me clean, because if I do this, he gonna get me this.
And I'll get that.
And it's like, yeah, that's not.
That goes back to the scheming. You
Yes, and
can't
the
scheme.
manipulation. Mm-hmm. Oh
Not
man, there was a segment. I think it was a live show. I
mm-hmm.
don't know if it was it may have been the fellowships at the time, but Chief Yuya was sharing. He was like, when it comes to submission, a woman has to have it in her heart to like serve that man, or else it's like she's gonna constantly be resistant, and so it's a very serious thing when she's moving from her heart, like I'm doing it sincerely from my heart, versus like those alternative motives. Like I'm not doing this because I genuinely love this man, and I'm doing it because I want something out of this exchange or out of these actions. And as she said, like men can see right through that. So it's like
And then if they tell you, it's like, okay, I'm telling you, I see you. So then what are you going to do? Because then that gives you the opportunity to change, to make a change.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he said it one time on a segment, like women would say, you just seem like you would be so hard to be in a relationship with because like I'll be jumping through hoops. And he was like, well, it's because you want too much, but it makes sense. Like if I want this, you constantly think, oh, okay, what I got to do to get this.
Yeah. Even when he did this segment on the Dow, he shared like if you're in a relationship with someone, you have to constantly entertain them. He was like, yeah, that's not a good fit. That's not a good match, because it's like you look at the person like, hey, what can you do for me? All right, do some tricks. But I do look at that like that's a European type mindset, because it's like I'm gonna sit back and watch these entertainers entertain me. And I'm gonna sit back, laugh, and like, oh, they joke, that's that spirit, that energy that I pick up with that. It's like, yeah, it's like, oh, I see some, okay, I see some terms in the chat. Okay.
This might be another segment y'all need to take notes on. We're going to take notes too, because more terms.
Okay, the opposite, yeah, because we could ask who's tradition. Yes, we can. Oh, Master Menelik says trad wife is a term that is sort of a callback to the wife of the American nuclear family.
Trad wife? I've never heard of that.
I think it's just short for traditional wife. But do they actually say like trad wife? Is that what they saying? Like, or you just like, okay, I'm gonna just shorten it because we're in the chat. But
traditional wives are virgins. Yes. What else?
So Tiape says American. Go ahead.
I'm reading the chat too. Go ahead. You got it.
Kotiyape says American nuclear family equals Eurocentric. Okay, so it's a callback to the wife of the American nuclear family.
I I think I'm getting lost in
Yeah, I'm not.
what you guys are saying.
Yeah,
Somebody jump on and
yeah, I'm not
explain.
sure how, because y'all's point is connected with masculinity. It sound like y'all saying like, I don't know. I don't know if y'all talking about the same thing or have the same perspective. Aki El Kora says, "Yep, it seems like the golden age of traditional Western culture is the 50s."
Golden age of traditional Western culture. Not necessarily, I don't think, because even in the 50s, they were. I wouldn't say they were necessarily in. Well, he said Western culture, so then never mind.
Yeah, Aki El Kora, he the historian in Hanu, so I know he be like spitting those straight facts when it comes to history. So I mean, if you can share more, because
that's not our ministry. That's not our ministry.
Master says, yes, trad wife is a modern term. Okay. I don't say it and I'm not too lazy to type tradition. Okay.
Uh-oh.
So they really be saying trad wife. Okay. Shoot, I'm out of tune. I guess I'm getting old. Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But when you say Kotiyake, American nuclear family equals Eurocentric, that's what I'm kind of like, huh? Is how is it not related to maybe just a wife that's actually functioning according to a Hebraic culture, and she's why is it Eurocentric? That term.
Explain that one. Try too close to trans.
That's what's in my
That's where my mind went. Trans. I was like, okay, is he talking about trans wife?
That's yeah. I kept going there too, because the opposite is America is Western, right?
I think what she's saying is the American. I'm thinking, Yafe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but if it's the concept of the American family, that's Eurocentric. But if we're looking at the concept of maybe a Western family, okay, yeah. So she's saying the concept of the American family is Eurocentric. But we're talking about, of course, polygamy and polygyny. I know we didn't say that word yet, but we're talking about a way in which a family structures is based off of a Eastern perspective or Eastern culture.
Right, and some of those functions is traditional for our culture, like a woman managing the homestead, and so that's why I'm like wondering, why is that a Western cultural thing, because I'm sure they wasn't doing it right anyway, because it's so many failures in marriage, and like they had issues, and the whole feminist movement got started, so things were not, their traditional culture don't seem to be like working, Sovereign Eid says, at Chief Yuya, I thought the same and even winced when I read it. Trad wife, kind of, thinking about, I don't know if we're gonna be saying that word, but y'all read what it says in the chat.
I think we got somebody coming in.
Yes.
Coming in. How do we
love to hear you expound on your thoughts? Peace. Mathematic peace.
Okay. Do it. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. I just wanted to clear it up because I was just in reference to some of the modern marketing that's done. So you see terms like trad wives. It's used to target sisters who may have like a leaning or a hankering towards submission and towards like, well, I do want a husband. I do want to get married. They have that natural leaning. So because they lack, like Chief would often say, we lack the language for certain things. So they may not be able to express that. Okay, cool. I'm a marketer. I have a catchy term that seems to apply to you. And you'll use it, and that sort of pulls you into a space now where I can sell things to you. Usually content, usually podcasts, anything that leans towards you being a more virtuous individual, but you may not know like the historical implications of that term. So you may say, okay, I want to be a more traditional wife, but the furthest back your tradition may go, or yeah, excuse me, like Akia Karazed is in the 50s, right? The quote unquote golden era, but it wasn't our golden era. It's someone else's golden era. And it was their golden era because of, similar to a point I had made last night, you form a city around a gold rush, um, then the ideal family structure that the state or the dominant society might promote is, okay, I want the man to be able to leave the house and go work in this factory or go work in this mine or go work in whatever industry the city was built around, which is why a lot of people were encouraged to like stop having large families and move into the suburbs, which is closer to the city or the center of where all these jobs were. And we don't need y'all to have all those children anymore because we don't need all that manpower to produce food. Or we don't need all that manpower for the industry that the country is on right now. What we need is a man who is capable of going to work and coming home and being able to be sustained by his family so he could go back out and work again. You see, so it's more economic thing, but because of the way that the system is set up now, well, everyone can pretty much get money on their own. You got an internet connection, you can make money. So you're a sister, you don't feel like you need a man. And even if you're a man, you don't really think you need a sister. And the only thing the other gender is good for is sex. You see, that's it. So I go out, I bust a nut, I come back home and I go to work. I'm working for the same system and I'm still sustaining the same system because it's not based on gold mining or it's not based on manufacturing, but it's built on a consumer culture. So if you can make money and then in turn go straight into consuming, then it's all good. You see. So because of that, everyone is a market. Everyone is a market segment. So anyone who I don't really care for is food. So if you are looking to be a wife and you really want family, I can prey on that and I can come up with all kinds of terms and I can come up with all kinds of content that panders to those who have those sorts of inklings. But like Chief said, you don't really have the language to describe what it is you're looking for. Don't worry, I'll give you the term.
Uh-oh.
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 He's going in too.
Right. But one of the things, I guess, like I thought of when he was saying, like, when you're trying to achieve a certain goal in terms of like work. I guess my mind went to Torah. Like, what if you're establishing that family when you say, I want to be a wife, I want to be a mother, I want, family and da da da. But if it was based on, well, because I want to fulfill the will of the Creator, versus I'm trying to fulfill the mission or, do this work to build up an economy or something. Like, what if it was just, I just want to do the will of the Creator?
If you want to do the will of the Creator and you haven't found a space like Anu, and I didn't hear your whole question, by the way, my connection went up. I'm sorry, I just heard the last part of what if you just want to do the will of the Creator? And to that, I would say if you just want to do the will of the Creator, or like I said, you just want to make sure you do things correctly. Well, family is the most wholesome thing I can find, so I want a family, or even doing the will of the Creator is the most righteous thing I can think of. But maybe I haven't encountered a group, a community like Anu, or I haven't been able to build with some, even some Hebrew Israelites, or even some Christians who actually do what it says in the book. I haven't had the chance to do that thing because I've been isolating myself and sort of insulating myself to protect whatever I thought was pure. That's easy pickings for a wolf.
So if you're not doing the work, if you're not applying Torah, then you become an easy target.
If you're not building within a group, if you're not building within a community, you become you become easy to pick off. You know, like Chief had said on a couple of different segments, you don't hear too much about Muslim children being victims of police brutality, or you don't hear too much about Rasta children being victims of police brutality, because they know if I touch one of them, there's going to be a lot more coming out of the woodwork. But if this one is over there by himself or herself, or even if it's one or two single people, like a group of single people, and they're out here by themselves, it's easier pickings. You know, it's lower hanging fruit for someone who's a predator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think about the segments Chief did on the vetting process. You know, like if you're like an easy picking, you're someone who hasn't been vetted within a community, or you don't have any wise counsel around you. So I can see why it would be easy for you to kind of just go over here, go over there, or even put the crown on your own self and say, "I'm queen this, I'm king this," and you just because you don't have any you need a community, you need people around, like wise counsel, and that's what I think of. And it kind of goes into Chief Ya's question. He said, what were your reactions to some of the things I spoke about regarding vetting in previous segments and this one? Also, what oppositions to a Torah marriage would you imagine? What are your reactions to some of the things I spoke about regarding vetting?
In terms of vetting, one of the things that Chief had spoken about was making sure that one has integrity. That's a big thing, because even if you are alone, you know, or even if it's just your family, you know, family being man, woman, children, not me and my children, because my husband was wasn't, you know, a man of God.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not one of those things. I had to leave. I had to take my children and leave. It's not one of those things. But man, woman, children, you can vet things very easily. But even when it comes to if you are single and you are searching for a mate, the integrity thing is a good metric, because you don't have to get in too deep to see if that person has integrity, if you have eyes to see, you know. And if the integrity is based on Torah, you could look in a matter of minutes and you can see, okay, this person isn't living based on Torah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so it becomes a protection. It becomes a shield. You know, Yah is covering you.
Yeah.
If you stay under the freaking umbrella, you know, Yah is covering you. If you want to go from under that and lead go on your own understanding, then that's a different thing.
Yeah, my mind went. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, it makes me think of like sometimes when talking to Master, if he's able to say like, I see you, you know, like even in the very beginning when you meet him, it's like, okay, I see you, I see right through you, I know what you're gonna say, I know what you're gonna do. And it's like, how did he get that level of vision or insight? And I think about like, yeah, you've been tied to Torah, you've had that, you've been living it and you walk it, so it's easy for you to see, like you said, when somebody's not coming with integrity.
Yeah, that's my mind is on a similar wavelength when I think about like, okay, the vetting, like that helps you to see like who's ready for polygyny or not, whether it's the man or the woman. So it's like when you like vetting, you see certain things, you're like, oh, this person is not ready, or if they're saying that they're in it, you like, oh, it's probably like you know, certain issues because this person's acting like this, or you can kind of see like clearly like right through that, like that's a mess, or you know. So but I suppose well, as far as what oppositions to a Torah marriage would you imagine, like I would imagine it would be like I guess to speak for the woman, like it would be her emotional immaturity, and, like she still may be like, well, I just don't, like you can give her all the logic and all the law and Torah, but she may be like, I still don't want to do it, or I just don't want to share, that's the end of it, I'm not doing it, I don't care. But it's based on her emotions, so I can see that being opposition, like you just still like, I just not feeling it, or you know, I can see that being a huge opposition still. for people who are struggling with, yeah. And then also like the, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm formulating in my mind.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, and also the familial relationships. I know that seems like a big thing. Like if a woman is still tethered to what her family says or what her relative, well, I'll say family because maybe she doesn't have a family yet. If she's still tethered to their opinion, I can see that being in opposition to maybe a Torah marriage and what's right. But that was a part of the vetting process. You mentioned like if a woman, you gotta look at her friends and who surrounds her, who's in her ear. So if you already see that, then you kind of see like, okay, they may be in opposition to like the laws. And he gave the example of the woman that would come back and she had to make up her locks in a different way. It's like, but it's like you want to like live by the Torah and the laws, but you may have other people that make it hard. Like when you get around them, it's like, oh man, now I'm over here, not functioning. I'm not resolute in that. I'm changing things up, and so I can see that being like a challenging for women. So that familiar input and those friends and family, and then the emotional immaturity.
I would agree, and I definitely would say like because that's where my mind went with like not being able to cut off family, but also like if you don't have the ability to choose, like to make wise choices. Like if you're hanging out with people and okay, I probably don't need to be hanging out with them, or I mean, well, I could give an example kind of, but because I always come from examples, but I remember being around some others who they have culture, they have their tradition or whatever, and they're supposed to be, I guess, holy people, and them inviting me to participate in like a birthday party, and I had to say like, yeah, we don't celebrate that. That's not something we celebrate, and even reverence and saying like, let me have this conversation with my head, my covering, and but to me, like that was an example of like, okay, can you be that? Like when that person, when that your man or your head, your covering is not around, do you hold fast to that culture that you say you're about? Do you hold fast to Torah? Do you hold fast to those things?
Yeah.
Or do they go out the window when no one's watching? So to me, I think about that because that could be like a woman who's just being slick.
It could be. It could be. Yeah.
So I think that could be an opposition. Like, yeah, are you really about it or are you just playing?
Yeah, especially if she lies about it. You come like, why are you doing this? And she like kind of being slippery, like, well, then it's like kind of like, yeah, that's not what I would be. Well, Master Miller, did you want to speak to that at all? Those questions?
Yeah. In terms of in the past segments, the integrity piece was definitely a big one. In terms of this segment, being careful of manipulativeness is a big one. Because it's only for you. You know what I mean? It only feeds your sense of control. And you might even see that with someone who wants a marriage, but when it comes to a Torah marriage or a marriage where it's like we're still obeying the laws, but in your mind, it's not so much the laws of Torah, it's the rules of Babylon. So making a clear distinction even between those two, because those who are Babylonian minded, who also want to be in a more traditional space, they will only agree with the things that seem to overlap. So you need to be married. Okay, well, I could do a Babylonian marriage, but I'm still a Christian. Or I could do a Babylonian marriage, but I'm still an Israelite. So I'll do it that way. And okay, let's add someone onto the family. Oh, well, I don't really think we need to do all of that. And, and you might have some iffiness about that, because you weren't really there for the Torah portion. You were there for the Babylonian portion, because the larger group that you're identifying with is not necessarily um, Hebraic, or it's not necessarily based on the culture that you're dealing with now. It's based on what Babylon says is okay. So anytime the Torah says something, or anytime your mate says something, you looking over to the side, like Agent Smith is gonna pop up, lean in from the side of the house, like, say, okay,
Oh,
yeah, let's do that, honey, let's do that. Yeah, I'm with that. you know, but you gotta look around first for the cultural validators or cultural signifiers to say that's okay. And anything from Babylon that does not agree with that, they will,
right.
it's like mind hard words. Chief said, you will use, um, if something is in your subconscious, if you're leaning more towards logic, you will use your logic to try to justify what's in your subconscious. If you lean towards your emotion, then you'll just use your emotions to justify what's in your subconscious. So what's in your subconscious is ultimately what you're gonna lean towards. And I think Chief has said it in the chat. If you haven't supplanted, removed your will and supplanted it with Yah's will, then you're always gonna use your will as your measuring stick. And your will may not have been something that you formulated over much consideration and philosophizing, because you don't really do that. Your will is formed over time based on your biases. If you're moving through life unconsciously, so if you take a step back and you say, okay, what I've been doing throughout my life has been an unconscious effort. I've just been taking on what everyone around me said was good. And if something hurt me too much, then I stay away from it. Then you're just reacting to the world. So when Yah says, all right, this is how you approach the world proactively, this is what you do. This is what you do. Don't do this. Don't do this. Don't wait for something to hurt you. Like, this will hurt you because you weren't designed to do this. You weren't designed to do that. This is what you were designed to do. You see what I'm saying? Well, yeah, I kind of agree with it, but I think we're under dispensation of grace, and I think we're supposed to do this. Anyone who says that,
That is
like,
weak.
they want, right. So some of the oppositions to it would be like, I can't share a man, or I can't share a mate, or I'll submit if he shows me that he's worth submitting to. Usually by that time too, by the time you've decided he's worth submitting to, he doesn't want you anymore.
Right.
He usually doesn't.
Yeah.
You want to wait. You want to be like Vivica Fox, wait until you 60 and chunky
Oh no.
to say, oh well, I'm taking applications now, so I still have to prove audition to you at this age. You're delusional, but you're delusional, but your mentality isn't uncommon.
Yeah.
And it's even worse when they are young with that mindset, and they think that men are auditioning for them. But really, it should be the other way around.
And
when
you speak of like when you're young, I'm thinking about like how women have a different time frame that they're on than men. So you waste so much of your valuable years with those foolish thoughts, and then the time for you to be fruitful and to you waste that time.
Yeah, that definitely does. A person who does not have the fruits of the spirit at all.
Yeah, man. If we're here to build up the kingdom, we have a finite amount of time already. Being a part of a community helps to ease the level of work, because you have many more hands of the same, and they're of the same mind. So if all of us are coming together under Yah, like Chief was speaking about in an earlier segment, with polygyny, you have the man who's the thinker and the women of the doers, right? But the man's thoughts are guided by Yah. So Yah is the thinker. You have one thinker, and everyone in the community is a doer. Under the house, you have one thinker. Everyone in the house is a doer. The more people you got, the more time you got to enjoy life, honestly, because The building is enjoyable when everyone is of the same mind and of the same mission. The building is enjoyable. The fruits of the building is enjoyable. Having the children around is enjoyable. Like the only thing that's really the more rough parts come when things are out of alignment and you have to get them back into alignment. And
Mm.
you may form relationship bonds with those who refuse to get into alignment. And then you got to cut them off. Like that's the rough part, I think.
Mhm.
Peace, sis.
Peace.
Peace, everyone.
Peace.
Welcome.
Peace.
Peace.
Wait,
Yeah, I'm
hold
just
on, wait a minute. This the first time.
exactly.
This the first
I'm just vibing in. You know what I mean?
slide on
Yeah,
in.
vibing in.
Appreciate you jumping on in.
Mhm.
But your point, Master Miller, ties into what I feel Karar posted. He said, "I think one opposition is obeying the husband. And some of the things you shared is the woman like disobeying, well, being disobedient or not being respectful. Period. Uh,
Hmm. Yeah, the thing she chooses to be respectful of, again, she's looking around the corner for Agent Smith to give her the thumbs up. Like, can I be respectful to this? This isn't unfair, is it? Like she was talking about earlier, like, oh, that's unfair. I would never let him do that. You do what for him, sister? And he doesn't do it. Well, does he do it for you? It comes down to that
oh,
petty
That's
tit for tat thing.
yeah. You have to block that out like immediately.
mm-hmm.
Like once you make that decision, this is where I'm gonna be. When you hear that stuff from women, it's just like cut it off.
Mhm.
Cut
Yeah,
it
like
off.
people said, Babylonian rules don't apply. So whatever you got to say to me, it doesn't really apply, you
Right.
know. And they usually get it after a while. If they, it's like I'm wasting my word.
Right. And
Don't waste your breath on
yeah, GP, I did share like the role of the wife is like not listening to like those opinions about the world. Like, are those people really invested? Tell you like, oh, don't do this, don't do that, but it's like you don't care nothing about my journey. Like I could do what you said, and then my whole life is messed up. You ain't gonna come and check on me, see
her.
what
Hmm.
And
happened.
they'll be happy because you'll be
No, her work
miserable.
is done.
Yeah,
You'll be
Hmm.
right there with them. That's what they want.
yeah,
You know.
Hmm.
right. That's true. And then they can be like, all right, come out to party with me. It's like,
I
We
think
waste the rest of our lives doing nothing.
it's probably important when you can recognize that they, like how significant they are as opposed to us. It's like that film series, Them. I think it's called
Mm,
Them or They, right? But you're recognizing that this is someone, something, a group of people who are external to me, and their role, like what Masterman like said, yo, that my work is done. Like their role may be to breed disease, and because you think they are similar, see, in your weakened state, they look similar to you because you don't know how to look with the right eyes. If you
hmm,
look with your weak eyes, everybody looks the same. If you
mm,
think about it. And the more fine tuned your vision gets, the more you can see certain things. It's like someone who's just not an art appreciator. It all looks like fruit and bridges to them, you know,
uh-oh.
until they start to, they develop a better eye or look with a better eye. But, you know, you start to have to see what is being breeded, what is being,
I think you went
oh,
out.
I dropped out.
Can y'all hear? Can y'all hear him?
I Yeah, I can
and
hear
Oh,
Yeah, you blaming
you.
it on me, you know, you know. But, but yeah, man, it's important for us just to kind of understand like different people come with a different plan.
mm,
Adoma and Hawa, their concern was their genetics, and what type of beings would they produce from this genetic. So it was taken into great consideration what they would eat, what kind of environment they would live in,
mm,
what kind of perfect moment that they would have to conceive their child or their children.
Mhm.
Timing was important because Anu had planned a time and planned where their children would be born under, and said, okay, you're going to do this at this time because your children are going to be born under this astrological sign, which was really Saratan. Saratan is what we call Cancer, but it was the ancient term was Saratan. But that didn't happen because of, interlopers. So sometimes, like, people are so very locked in and tied into the dependencies of their purpose, and we're not. And we start to listen to people who are not tied into those dependencies, and we don't realize just how measured and precise this journey is. We think it's sloppy. Like, every other day I'm gonna get on my Hebrew grizzly, and on my off days I'm going to talk to my ridiculous, compatriots, if you will, in Babylon, and not realizing that everything is timed precisely. And that moment that you have taken to have the conversation with that fool, that minute, that hour, that day, that might have been the day when something was supposed to happen in terms of the ascendancy of your life.
Mm.
Oh, wow, that's pretty deep. That's pretty deep. I mean, it just makes me think about the value of like just like respecting time too in those moments as well. Like when people come along, just be like, "Oh no, I'm not going to entertain that energy. Nope, I'm not." Because
Right.
some people are like that. You're like that. It's kind of like, "Nope, I'm not pulling that into my world at all."
I ain't got 5 minutes for it.
Yeah.
Nothing. Like, we got some deep cosmic stuff that we're in the middle of. That's the reality, man. And it's just like when you're doing someone's natal chart, you not only ask what day they were born, but what time were you born. So we understand the significance of the minute. Like, what exact? I need the exact times. Oh, don't tell me around 12 o'clock. 12 what?
12:02.
Yeah, because everything is angled in a very precise manner. So, to waste time, and to waste my angles and to waste my measurements, being in the wrong house or being in the wrong trajectory to wherever I'm supposed to be is scary, really, if you think about it, because you might be missing your moment.
I think about the timing of even what you're sharing, in this whole segment of the righteous family. And I feel like, even for those of us who are in our new, it's like this is the time to really be grabbing hold to what's being said. Even if you're not doing the polygamy or the polygyny family model, family period, this is the time for family. So it's like, don't waste this moment or this time by not taking hold to these teachings and applying them.
I totally agree. Absolutely. This is the time. We have to accept that our success in that, the success of family comes from love, cooperation, and creativity. And when you start to master and dig deep into what those things are and the truth and the facts that have always been, they have always been, by given to us by the creator, and those facts that were worthwhile to great cultures, they were worthwhile to great civilizations, but once you like lock into, if you look at your woman or your women or your man and your children, and you look at everybody in the eye and say, yo, we just gonna focus on creativity, love, and cooperation, you will not lose. There's no way you will lose, and you will become so disagreeable to anything that affronts the family, that is speaking anything other than the unification of those three on the basis of truth.
Yeah, I think about like, is that also like the manifestation of fruits as well for those who are willing to have that mindset, and they're not like purposely like kind of choosing like, nope, I'm not going. They're not resistant. Like, I'm not going to do things I'm not going to cooperate, or I'm not going to use my gifts and be creative. I'm a just kind of not do anything. And yeah, I think about like the behavior of that too.
As you speaking about time and Chief, I was thinking about the movie that we had watched, our watch party with Kirkland.
Yeah.
And the father I think he's an example of someone who missed his time.
Mm,
You know,
for sure.
he was doing. He decided in the middle of his heyday that he was going to stop doing it and work on something that comes from his heart.
Right.
Sure, but this isn't just about you anymore because you got 6 people. You know, you got 5 children and a wife to take care of now. It's not just about how you feel about the music. You know, you had the time for that, and whatever money you had, we can see the remnants of your spending habits in your behavior. You know, you use it to come home to be the fun one or the one who's always bringing stuff that you got with money.
Right. The ice cream and cake.
Right. So I could only imagine when you did have it, what you were spending it on.
Right.
Well, he
right.
told them.
Bloomingdale's.
Bloomingdale. Every week.
Right. That's true.
That's the problem. Should have been staying home in Torah. You know,
Right.
Torah.
Or I mean, even designing those children differently. Like, you know, one of the big pieces about family that people like sometimes leave out because the passion and the excitement is like, you know, the considering the genetic positioning and matrix of your prospective mate. You know, really thinking about the genetic breeding. You know, it's not just well the sperm is going to join with the ovum and we're good to go, but you know, mismatched genetics can produce genetic defects. You know, and we don't sometimes think about genetic coding and things like that. Like not just the timing of when we're going to have it, but you know, blood diseases, mental disorders, things like that. You know, were your parents psychotic? You know, it may not be, and that's like the deepness of spirituality. It may not be evident that your parents were psychotic, but it's inside of you. You know, so there's recessive behaviors and traits that will show up sometimes in third or fourth generation offspring. You know, like you could have the genetic straight, like this one of straight hair. You know, one person has, you know, the trait for straight hair, and the other one has the trait for woolly hair. And if you put those two together, it, you know, down the line, there's like a 25% chance that you know your offspring will have woolly hair, but there's a 50% chance that they will have straight hair. You know,
Right.
like things like that. Like you know, you think about, you say, okay, well, what the heck else might be in there that will pop up that maybe I haven't really equipped myself for. You know, so it's so much deeper than like you said, yeah, just coming with cake and ice cream and you know what I mean? There's more going on.
Hey, Baba's here. Yeah, it's Baba.
Right,
It's the Baba show.
exactly. Cake time. I'm gonna
Cake time.
throw up these black eyed peas so I can get over the spice
Right.
piece.
Right.
Make room. We gotta make room for some ice cream.
Yeah, make room. Yeah, in genetics, I think they call that an atavism.
Yeah.
A genetic trait comes back after generations of being dormant. But that's a good point, though, because we usually think of sperm and ovum, like all of them are created equal.
Right.
You know, we don't think of, well, what is it? You know, what's it made of? You know, I think in Australia, they have this saying that, like, if they think someone is cool, they would say your blood is worth bottling. You know, on it.
Right.
That concept that, okay, this person, like, if we could make more of you, I would definitely try it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
we need more people like you, as
Right.
opposed to the passion, like you brought up earlier. Well, I feel this way, and they feel that way, and it feels so right in the moment. And then after that, 5 kids later down the line, you arguing about a bounce check.
Right. Woody wrote a bum check. Exactly.
I think about like if all of us, like if we're coming together and we've acknowledged like we're children of the Most High, and we have that genetic inside of us. And I think about like when you say the timing and when we're coming together to bring forth another child, like together to bring forth like a part of the Most High that probably hasn't been seen, not just, a part that in our bloodline, like, oh, the straight hair, but maybe it's the quality. It's a certain quality that's going to be birthed when we come together. And it's a quality that comes from the Most High that maybe we haven't seen in the last 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 generations.
It's always going to be that. I mean, there's always going to be a newborn quality coming forth, because even with you within yourself, where are you going to be 15 years from now?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If everyone was to ask themselves that question, you could probably think about personal goals, sure. But how are those personal goals, the achievement of such, going to affect you and shape you, or the failure of such? Because some of them you ain't going to hit. That's just life. How is that going to affect you? So there's always this new sort of idea that's being produced that we may be unaware of. It's like I said, it's such a precise orchestration, so when we're choosing, you have to look at those things, but your primary thing that you're looking at, like as far as a man even looking at a woman, is she healthy? Is she intelligent? And can I love her and cherish her for the amount of time that I got to be with her?
Mm-hmm.
There's certain things, as a man, I have a responsibility to acquire a good education. It's things that sometimes we don't even think about. I am responsible to know how to fix and repair things around my home. I'm responsible to know how to be well informed and to keep myself and my family abreast of current affairs. I am responsible to know how to cook. I am responsible to know how to take care of a house. We don't talk about that much, because what if my wife or my wives, they fall ill and we got 3 little birdies chirping, and like they still hungry. Laundry still got to get done. People, sandwiches still got to be made for lunch, and so
diapers are still full.
Diapers are still full, right? Exactly. So I have to know how to still do all those things in conjunction with survival tactics. I'm responsible to be disciplined. I'm responsible to have integrity, so forth and so on. So you're looking at the genetic aspects, but then there are some basic, I guess they would be basic depending on how hard they are. But just understanding that if I focus on those things and realizing that beauty fades, just like handsomeness fades. If you choose a man because he's handsome, and that may not encompass your ability to love and cherish him forever. There's things that she has to also to consider beyond, can she cook and can she clean? She's got to be able to support the environment and stuff like that, but she has to know more than that, man. She's got to know how to utilize her talents to support her family. Here's something simple that women who want to be a wife have to be responsible to know how to do. Women who want to be wives have to know how to do hair and nails. I'm telling you.
That's pretty easy then. Okay.
I was like, okay. But what's so funny, we do that. Mm-hmm. We do that as a child. Like, I don't know. Like,
right. You got your baby dolls that we naturally
like do.
And then you stop. Women should know how to cut hair.
Yeah. My mother used to cut my hair for most of my childhood. Yeah. She would have the clippers there.
Right. I remember
never had to go to a barber when I was young.
I think I shared that story. I had a client once years ago. I never even knew this sister's name, which is so crazy now I think about it. But when I owned my barbershop, she used to come in. She had like 5, 6 boys. Haitian sister, and she was so sweet, man. Just had like a really sweet disposition, and she had all these children, and they were rowdy. They were like rowdy little boys, wouldn't want to sit still, whatever. So I used to let her come in on, because Mondays the shops are closed. So I would say come in on Monday because she lived right up the street. I'll come in and just cut them so that way basically they ain't bothering all my other customers. And but you know, every time she coming in, haircut, you know, back then haircut Caesars for, because she would always be like, make them bald, make it. She would always want me to give them bald head. She would like, cut it all off.
Oh, dang.
Oh man.
Like no shape up, no part, no bald. And I'll be like, yo,
George Foreman is walking around.
yeah.
It was catching hell in school the next day. Everybody bringing alcohol to school.
The back of their head, you know what I'm saying? So back then, haircuts were $8. So I remember every time she would come, she was handing over a $50 bill, right? Haircuts for children are $8 for Caesars. And one day I was like, I just couldn't take her money anymore. I was like, listen, why don't you come in and I'll teach you how to cut hair? And she was like, you do a good job. I was like, yeah, but I don't, you can spend this money someplace else. You don't have to give me this money. I said, I'll teach you how to cut. I said, so for the next cut, I think I gave her an old pair of clippers. If I remember correctly, I gave her an old pair of clippers. And I was like, you could buy some, but I have some here. I just got to fix them. And one Monday she came and I said, I'm going to cut one of them. And then we're going to cut the rest of them together, you know, but that is, so now she's saving. She probably saw me once a month, I think, you know, but now you're saving $50 a month. In the 90s, that was significant. You know what I mean? Because shoot, you putting gas in your car, you might spend $20 a week on gas and to fill your car up. So, you know, so to be able to save $50 a month was significant. But those are things that a woman has to her responsibility. Women have to know how to drive cars.
Word, I'm just kidding.
A lot of women can't drive, but what if there's an issue? You know what I'm saying? Like, so there are things that we have to look at in each other. You know, hey, here's another. How many of you sisters know CPR?
That's a good one.
You see what I'm saying?
I was just thinking of that in terms of the driving. Sometimes you may not have time to drive to the hospital.
Write that on
right.
your list.
The driving and parallel parking, I got you on that. But the CPR.
See, so if something were to happen, you just got to sit there and watch the life drain from you know.
What about stitching up a deep cut?
Spring into action.
Right.
You might not know exactly what you're doing, but you're gonna spring into action and do something. You wouldn't just sit there.
So if you was on a plane and they shout out, does anybody know CPR? You gonna jump up from your chair? I could try it. And just
if it was you or
I could try.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try.
That's like do it.
I'm gonna try. That's my.
Or you could just go get CPR certified, which is really simple.
Yeah, we're gonna do that.
Y'all
hear that, sister?
Right. All right, we're gonna start planning as soon as we get off the phone.
He ain't gonna embarrass us again. You see how you did that? See how you did that? Yeah.
Come back next month. We're gonna do a demonstration.
And Sequoia, why you didn't back me up?
No, we gonna do it.
It's supposed to be solidarity.
Right, exactly. You could have lied. You lied about the edibles. You could have lied about being CPR certified.
People laugh.
Well, yeah, man. You know, these are basic things like you think about. So, yeah, even beyond the genetics, when you want to build healthy families, these are the things you got to know. Something as simple as even like, do you know the basic laws of where you live? Because you might do certain things where you put your family in danger because you're violating certain laws of your city or your state that you didn't even know about. You know.
I have a question about genetics. I'm not too versed in it, but I always had this idea in my mind, and I should research it more to verify if it's true or not. But I always had the impression that the more I know, the more my youth will know. Like anytime I learn something, I improve my genetics. Well, I'm not sure how scientifically sound that is.
Well, you know what? The thing is, there are certain things that are instinctual, that's in genetics. Like, you know, we look at certain animals in the animal kingdom and how immediately they know how to hunt or they know what animals to watch out for that are dangerous to them without mama whatever having to teach them. You can repair genetics. There are certain processes to reverse DNA damage, or what are they called? The thymine dimmers. Those get damaged through exposure to ultraviolet light, things like that. So there are certain repairs that you can do. As far as like studying and then passing that, yeah, we definitely teach that within our spiritual tradition. Absolutely. And there is some proof. It's studies being done on that you can pass down intelligence through genetic information. But and what they usually use is like a like I said, as like that reference or that proof is like they use the animal kingdom. Or look at like I don't well, I mean, I've experienced this. Some of y'all might be like, what? Mice do not go on to glue traps anymore. Glue traps don't work. They don't work. Like mice can recognize a glue trap. They recognize like the old school mouse trap with the snapback and all that. They know what those things are. They'll go around them, hop over them, everything like that. But because they reproduce very quickly in their generations, mice. So that you could kind of speed up that sort of evolutionary sort of intelligence because they reproduce so quickly. They don't have a long lifespan, but they right back quick. But yeah, certain things just don't work on them anymore. Yeah, country mice will still, and I have noticed that. Interesting enough, in my homes in the north, that stuff, glue traps, whatever, don't work. But if I go down south, I'll catch them the same night. Boom, gotcha. Because they out in the field all day. They like, I don't know what this is.
I feel like that's a diss to the South again, but we're not gonna go there.
Well, hey, I knew you was gonna take it.
Even our mice ain't that smart. What y'all trying to say?
Well, you put a country mouse up against a city rat. Yeah, I mean, come on.
Oh man.
Yeah, I was thinking about that in terms of let's say there's a man who does maintenance work on all the family vehicles versus another man who always takes it to the mechanic shop.
Yeah.
My theory, just make sure I preface that. My theory is that the one who does more work on the car, his children would be more mechanically inclined.
Yeah. Well, you have the exogenesis too. I mean, and through efficacy, the children are going to see this. And if they have that inheritable trait already inside of them, then it would be activated by what they see. So there's that part too. It might have already been there, but just not activated. But I mean, intelligence is like they say that's one of the highest or the most. I don't know how you would put it, but the most predictably inheritable trait. We got some problems in that. But yeah, if your parents are intelligent, chances are you're going to be. I think it's like a 40% chance or something like that. It's one of the biggest markers. But I know what you're saying. If a parent, like you're talking about actual knowledge stores, I learned how to work on jet planes, and somehow my children have this proclivity to figure it out quickly. I spiritually, yeah, we do say that is the case. Spiritually, yeah.
Okay. One of my old coworkers, I think he's a good example of both. His father actually worked on jet planes, and he can fix anything you give to him. But it's not just so much so that, well, my father worked on jet planes, but he left before I was 2 years old. But I can still do this. He grew up working in his father's shop as well. So whatever his father would work on, he would work on. And now it's like second nature. Anything you put in front of him, even if he has to go on YouTube and watch a video, go on YouTube and watch a video, he'll figure it out pretty quickly. This is what the issue is.
Okay, now check that out. Now, those genes, like, okay, so you have what's called conditioned genes. And again, I'm saying science and then I'm saying spirituality, because they don't always line up. In the scientific community, it's considered that conditioned genes are the genes where intelligence sits, and those primarily come from the mother. Well, pretty much totally come from the mother and have nothing to do with the father. That's science. So just to make the distinction, spiritually we might see it a little bit different.
Okay. Man.
Well, we want to take a moment. We still on the house for you, y'all, but we want to take a moment to welcome in Brother Mayuba, and we want to welcome in Aki El Karar. Welcome. Thank you guys for joining us.
Peace, brothers.
And you guys can
peace, brothers.
Hey,
jump on in.
Oh, well, for me, the science was, of genetics was very interesting. Just even like from a history standpoint, because when I think of that, I think of eugenics, and what and whatnot. From a Western perspective, how we think about that, and then we don't like. I watch a lot of documentaries and things. I'm like, why was it that all these dang on Germans was so into that it's like that seems like a red flag to me. But then as you talk about of those genetic proclivities, I think of like, yeah, my grandfather was a carpenter, and all his kids they had to do something with their hands, like they were really good with their hands. Why didn't this, they're like, yeah, why did that not pass on to me? And then you was talking about mice, and I was like, yeah, because what I learned about mice is I didn't know there was two kinds. You got your vegan mice, and then you got your your country door mice. And certain trick in how to kill them is to feed them like a mixture of bacon and something else with cholesterol in it, and they'll go crazy for it. Not peanut butter, but they'll go crazy for it. But it will kill them. Like it will basically blow out their heart.
Nice.
I know. I'm sorry.
Fatality. Finish him.
I didn't mean to make you scared or anything like that. But it's like, I thought that very interesting. Like it will. They'll just kick over. But if you get like vegan mice, which are like brown in color or whatever, it won't touch them. They'll be like, we're vegans, we're okay. And I found that very, very interesting in like from like a hunter or predator perspective, because sometimes you got to kill a mice, and the old like she said, the old from the city, the old peanut butter with the mouse trap in it, it don't work no more, so you got to find out other ways, and you got to think like them. I never thought that you think of Tom and Jerry and that little hole, that mouse hole be like big, and I never thought that a little small hole is a mouse hole. Like it'd be like this big, and it's like that's mouse hole.
They said they can go through spaces the size of a pencil
in that thing, and then when
a pencil,
yeah, like a pencil,
they can go through like a space the size of a pencil hole.
Exactly,
because of their ability to dislocate all of the bones in their body.
Oh, exactly. So they're worse than an octopus.
Yeah,
and like when you were talking about being in about the pop last night. You was talking about the pop and about mouse and things like that. Man, I have seen like mice in gas stations. I didn't buy nothing. I was about to get, but I've seen that, and I was like, "Yo, like they don't even pay." That's why you watch this, because I've seen that happen, man. Mm-hmm. But I think when it comes to like, yeah, to have genetics, you have to adapt. That's how we got to where we are. And how she talks about, those ancestors that actually had genetic inclination just to make like I'm AI. Then I got to think, like, who else was like that? That made me that was like AI. Talking about them like, we gonna make this country AI do. That tells jokes and just that's all he does. But it's a fascinating uh it's a fascinating um discipline because we don't think that about. We just think, okay, sperm, ovum, and that's it. We never think about selecting and picking the best things so we can make this, and to basically be like our creator in that sense. I'm done.
So you trying to say I ain't good enough? I ain't good enough. What I gotta do to be good enough for you? I like it. I likes you,
I
and I
like
want you.
and I want you. You can do this the easy way or the hard way.
Brother Mayuva, did you want to share anything?
Yeah, of course. I would love to share. When speaking of genetics, it came into a story in my head where a group of friends of mine in Canada, they were putting together a short film or documentary, and the documentary was based on dance of African cultures. I forgot which tribe and in which specific country they went to, but it was about it was a mask dances that they did in a certain tribe. So during her documentary, she took the time to outline stories of professors at the university that it was some of the tribes that they had gone back to. And one of the things that I did not like in the documentary, that at the viewing and the showing where we had um, maybe 15, 20 Black community people there, um, was when they had interviewed a few white people in our city that had gone back to the continent. I think it was Zimbabwe. They learned some dances. They came back to the city and they started teaching those dances, right? And the lady was explaining how she had permission by someone from the tribe to do this, and she spent so much time over there. And when she came back, she started teaching. Um, what I did not like how the group was kind of like clowning the lady and being super angry with her bringing back and making money with African cultures and teaching it here, and then being mad that she has the privilege to go, she had the money, she had this. And I don't know the lady's story, but what I didn't appreciate is that when you see someone that has an inclination or has a spark that touches them, and that can come in through many different ancestors, that says, hey, this is what resonated for that person, and they came into a place of growing, and from that growing and that illumination, they came back to wherever they were from, which was Canada. And she started teaching and sharing some of the music. She brought back instruments, and I personally think that's still a beautiful thing when someone takes the time to share, to teach, um, and to still go back and forth to that place of origination from where they got those teachings from. Now, the group that we're with, I had to call them out on the spot. What after we watched the documentary, because we were sitting together in a wholesome environment, but then they were clowning the lady, being like, "Oh, this white lady went there and she's doing this, she's trying to teach these people that she doesn't know anything." And personally, I felt super, you know, I had heat and anger in me from the way they were going about it, because I said, "Hey, this is someone that got connected um, through one of their ancestors and said, hey, you know what? This was a parallel for them seeing this beauty, and they were the first person to introduce this type of dance and this type of music into their part of a small town in a city. And speaking of genetics, you never know where someone's inclination will, whether through food, through music, through dance, through crafts, through creation, It's always beautiful to see where those sparks come back to people and how they choose to re-manifest and share that with their community.
I agree. I think it's very simple minded. A lot of times when people feel that it's like you see a lot of Americans do that sometimes when they may see European people go to Nigeria and they're dealing with Orisha sciences, and they'll say like, oh yeah, they're stealing our stuff. And it's not yours, first of all. And if it truly were, then you would be able to gatekeep who gets it and who doesn't get it. But do you want if you feel like a certain group of people are behaving in a savage manner on the planet, and then something is introduced to them that can bring civilization, why would you be upset with that when it only makes them better people? Like do you want to continue to maintain a narrative, because everyone on the planet has the potential, and some even the desire, to ascend and to evolve. So if one group is trying to evolve and has recognized, well, this is a great way to do it, who are you to speak? I would say the same applies, like because I know many melanin rich people who have learned martial arts under the guidance and the tutelage of Asians. So where's the outrage? you know and not only martial arts, but even healing modalities, herb medicine, acupuncture, all of these different things, should that have been kept? And then what they'll do to justify some of it is like, well, it all comes from Africa. Right? But you not necessarily from Africa. So yeah, I think it's very silly, and sometimes people just look for that thing to complain about. It's just a very foolish way of being. I'm all about anybody getting any information that they can in an honest and legitimate way to ascend. And as far as us creating classifications as far as to who's who, that is extremely simple minded, because like I have said on many occasions, in most places I go to in the continent, I'm a white man. And that's just that. There's no getting around it. I can talk. And I swear I have gone into my phone and shown pictures of my family, because I'm one of the more lighter complexion youth that my parents had. So like I have brothers and sisters who are ebony black. And I'll show pictures like, this is my brother. Same, and they always say, same father, same mother. Yes, same. Yes, same father, same mother.
So you telling me?
Right, you're telling me.
You telling me?
This is your brother. I'll show pictures of my father. Like, this is my no, can't be. Like, there's no convincing. I am a white man. You know what I'm saying? So you start to see that level of ignorance, and I think hopefully, like, I know for me, it affected me in terms of me putting those classifications on people. It just, because it's just you start to realize, well, at least for me, I heard some of my own ignorance. I don't call anybody white or black anymore after spending time on the continent, because I don't know. The same way they can look at me and swear up and down, and I've been on the continent with people who have cut their trips early, cut their trips short, because they were just so offended by when they do that. You'll be walking down the street. If you're in Nigeria, they call you Oyimbo. If you're in Ghana, they call you Obuni. And after a while, you get tired of hearing it. You like, it's offensive.
That sounds too close to jabroni. I don't like that.
But you get offended after a while. But I know for me, I had to get to the point where it's like, okay, but isn't this the same exact thing that you do? You look at somebody, and based on your lack of exposure to the world, you assume that they're supposed to look like this to fit this racial categorization. So you were doing the exact same thing. So from that point forward, I'm like, nah, man, I don't know. You got to tell me. You know, I'm not going to look at you and say, "Oh, you're black." You're white. I don't know. You know.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
was thinking as you were.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, brother.
I was just thinking. As you were telling the story, Brother Mayuba, I was thinking about Chief, what you would often say about people's lack of respect for process. You know, for
Mm.
someone to say this person went over to the continent and they actually learned and studied under someone who does this thing, and for them to master it to the degree, you know, they're not completely mastered it, but they've gotten a command of it, enough of a command of it to be able to bring it back and teach it.
Right.
For you to be able to just jump up and say, well, because this person's white, they don't know what they're doing, you know,
Mm.
and laugh at them. But you wouldn't know that dance if it slapped you in the face because you don't do it. You know, so how could you criticize someone because they're not quote unquote supposed to know how to do it because they're
Right.
white?
And claim it as yours. I mean, I don't know if you saw the social media post I put up earlier. Did you see it, Mayuba?
No, not the recent one.
If you saw it, if you saw it, if you go to see it, you're gonna laugh. But it was a group of Europeans in Haiti, and they were singing spiritual songs in Creole, and and people were upset. You know, I mean, the comments and like they were like, "This, I blame this on Haitians." That's somebody had this long tirade about that's why you shouldn't invite people to your family cookouts and things like that. It's like, see, the Haitians, if you work with a Haitian, they always inviting people to their family cookouts and things like that, and they inviting the wrong people, and that's how they learn Creole. I'm like, yo, really?
So we gatekeeping Creole now.
Right. But I mean, I have eaten plenty of Haitian. I've eaten plenty of plate of a Haitian. Trust me, I know a lot of Haitian, and I did not learn Creole. I didn't learn that.
No.
I learned some good food. Like, yeah, Haitians could cook they make some fish now. You know what I mean? Like, I have learned some good meals with cornmeal. They'll flip cornmeal. You wouldn't even know it's cornmeal the way the Haitians go at it. But learn Creole and spiritual song. No, didn't happen like that. You know, so I just kind of have put in the chat. I mean, in my comment on the caption, like, I have been to Haiti and I know a little Creole. You know, you can't complain if you don't put the scholarship in. So, like, my point was saying that these are people who actually put work in to learn these things. I've been to the country and I only know a little bit because I didn't necessarily put the scholarship in. But who would I be to complain when I don't have a drop of Haitian blood in me? So even me I'm coming as a guest and was embraced as a guest and so forth and so on. Why would I just claim that automatically as mine? And see, that's sometimes a lot of time. I know Mayuba, you speaking about Haitians, but you know, a lot of times the American mindset or the Black American mindset is because we have nothing, everybody's stuff is ours. We grab everybody. So we'll talk about the Haitian Revolution, like, yeah, down in Haiti, you that was not your ancestors. Okay, that was not your genetic makeup that did that. Let's talk about what y'all did, or we'll claim people. We'll look at Mariah Carey. Oh, she knows she black. Did she say she's black? You know what I'm saying? Leave that woman alone.
Right.
You know?
Let her make her Christmas albums. Leave her alone.
Right. You know, or Tiger Woods. Oh, he talking about he blazing. Well, yes, he is. What's the problem? His father's black, his mother's Asian. Like, why can't let the man live? You know, so it's like because we have nothing, we grasp on, and then a lot of times there's a lot of jealousy that we admit towards groups who seem to have something. That's where you get a lot of the Black American Jamaican wars that used to happen back in the days because Jamaicans felt so much closer to Africa, you know, in terms of the language, the food, you know, the music style. It was like, damn, man, what they have feels so much blacker than what we have, and then now there's hate behind that, and then the Haitians were coming. The Haitians were so much different, and I'm talking about within America, than the Jamaicans, because the Jamaicans would flow in and out. Sometimes you wouldn't even know your best friend's Jamaican until you went to his house. You know, and you hear his mother, his grandmother, yo, you Jamaican? I was wondering why your name was Lennox. You know what I mean? Like, that was a weird name. But the Haitians never cared. The Haitians never blend. They like, yo, I'm Haitian. Like, that's that. So you know them straight off the rip. And there's a lot of tribalism that would happen around that, and it's also very silly. You know, instead of everybody sitting at a table and saying, "Man, these damn oppressors did us crazy," you know, got me over here speaking Spanish. I'm over here speaking French. You know, I'm over here speaking Portuguese. Man, they did us dirty. You know, having that conversation. Yeah.
For some reason, my mom went to like when you were talking about looking at other groups of people and saying like, you know, why are they learning that, or they taking something that's not theirs. And I just thought about like, if we're upholding the kingdom here on earth, and like how many people, like even just being on this platform, right? Or I knew like how many people who may not physically look like us, they may be converted in their hearts to want to take this walk and be a part of what it is that we're saying we're upholding this culture. So I just thought about it like that. Like, would we turn them away? You know what I mean? Because we might, you're white or you're Japanese or you're whatever, but if they've converted in their heart, then could they not live this way too? Could they not live this culture? Could they not speak the language that we're speaking?
They absolutely can. I mean, there are people who are grafted in. Now, you do have Hebrews that believe, you know, like you have the 12 charts the 12 tribe charts, which is not necessarily genetically accurate. But even when you go beyond the genetics, again, you know, I use this kind of example sometimes. I think I shared it once and asked the question: if I was to, let's say if I was to get with a sister who is of mixed race, right? And let's say her family is you know, she's got European family. And then I have another sister over here who's not of mixed race, but her family is straight toxic, just toxic, right? And I'm talking about melanin rich toxic, that old deep black toxin. You know,
I remember this question.
You remember this, right? Okay, so this is a while ago. So which one would you choose? Would you choose to mate with the person who is you're of the same ethnicity, however, their family is potentially dangerous and injurious to you and your family that you're creating? Or would you choose to mate with the person who's of mixed race, but they're completely respectful of you, your culture, and everything else?
I'm going for Mariah Carey. Black delegation has decided we on Mariah Carey.
Yeah, I mean, so we already see how much we value peace over the color wars, because you can find the devil anywhere, you know, or you can find support in different places, and that's when you're thinking with the mind of a metaphysician. You know, that's the thing. Some people don't, you know, they talk all the metaphysics and the spirituality until it comes to now digging into the same sort of rhetoric, you know, and now it's like, well, you know, this like Menelik said, like you worry about Agent Smith, you look around the corner, it's like, man, I wanted to say this, but I'm scared to say, like, yeah, I don't have a problem with that, or that would be more peaceful, you know, than engaging in this pattern that I have seen consistently destroy our homes, you know.
Yeah, I think about I know we kind of ventured off polygyny a bit, but
We still on it.
we still on it. Okay.
Yeah, I just said
I
two
think
different women.
Okay.
Women A, women B.
Right.
I think about what was shared. That was like, I was kind of like, when I heard it in the live, I was just kind of like, oh wow, that's a pretty powerful statement. But you had shared polygamy is a product of what happens when a person is when people are restored, and that was
Yes.
something that really like stuck out to me. I'm like, okay, wow, like, like I mean, that sounds like a final and definite statement, like restored.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So, and I think about that in terms of like our community, and I just was wondering what maybe the brothers, or like what you all thought about that in terms of like, yeah, just
I think that an interesting thing that went through my mind as a biological example of being restored is how, like, for example, to sit in lotus position, on the ground and comfortably, and you can sit there for hours. That's in a sense us being restored to our body's natural way of being, right? When when you see babies and they're sitting down, babies are in a perfect lotus. They're just, their legs are behind their heads, legs are around. They don't have that discomfort. And as we grow older, we're sitting on chairs. We're not sitting properly. You ask someone to sit down in a meditation cushion, their legs are like this, and then your legs are like this, and up until your legs, you take
Mm-hmm.
stretch, and then you realize that when you're sitting like this, or maybe you're just a little bit like this, you're much more comfortable than sitting like this, and you still realize that, all right, I need to keep moving. Once you get to the point where you're sitting fully comfortably, your hips are open, and then you're like, oh, this is how it's supposed to feel. This is how I'm supposed to be able to sit down. And when you go sit somewhere and you see, 5, 6 people sitting, and their legs are like this, and they're trying to meditate, I'm like, first thing, you're gonna be in so much pain that whatever kind of meditation you're gonna try and do, that better. One of the teachers had told me once, better you just lay on your back flat and just keep your eyes open, and meditate flat on your back than to sit in a extremely uncomfortable position, trying to do something like tensing and doing all that. Because once you get to that feeling of natural, like being a baby, it feels normal, and you naturally go to that space, and it um when you're to me, what I've realized for myself is when you're able to sit down with no discomfort, your meditative engine starts moving automatically. You might have just been doing your own thing, and then automatically you see that you're hearing less sounds, you're more clear, and able to work better as well, right?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we're speaking about, or like, what's valuable in what I'm hearing is being present. It's the science of flexibility, and one of the key, like, I don't want to say values, but I guess I would say prerequisites to being flexible is being present. Being able to sort of accept even the things that you felt set you back. Because a lot of times, like you said, even in that sitting position, people don't do it because they're afraid of that openness. You have to be open to new experiences. If I can make my knees, touch the ground, that may be a new sort of experience for my spine, for my lower spine, to really work my hip flexors in that way. And it forces me now to move myself out of my stuck patterns in life. So I'm looking at situations in a new kind of way and making the adjustments. Like even if you're taking a class like that and you're trying to flex in that way, and an instructor is seeing, they will come over and say, okay, they'll show you little tips like, okay, make this adjustment here, hold your neck this way, breathe out, you're holding your breath. They'll help you when they see that you're trying to make that, and that requires an acceptance as well. But sometimes when we're trying to suppress or avoid feelings, that's where all that holding the breath comes from. we're trying to suppress, and we're trying to hold feelings, and we don't want to acknowledge what we're emotionally feeling, then we don't find ways to grow. We don't find ways to find meaning, and of course, we're not present in that moment. So, yeah, absolutely. I mean, things that babies have when they're early, they haven't had any setbacks. They haven't had any hurt, so they're able to be present. They're able to accept. Um, they don't really have a whole lot of problems dealing with intense emotions or managing intense emotions. They just let it out, and they find a sense of fulfillment in very small things. And if you pay attention to them, like it's like looking at a cat. Cats will tell you so much about what you're supposed to be doing most of the time. Get in some sun, fall asleep, stretch, 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 always stretch. Only eat just as much as you want. Don't eat to be full, because then you won't be able to stretch. Just eat a little. Cats tell you a lot, but even babies tell you how to build big muscles. We love when we see babies walk, because we see them becoming more human, but they actually build more muscles by crawling. And it's like, to Mayuba's sort of credit in his story, get down and try to crawl around your house and see how difficult it'll be.
Oh, my knees.
My knees, my shoulders, my back. Everything is like, how the heck? And babies be moving fat. Like, you got to literally run after them.
Yeah. They be booking it.
They be moving to just crawl on all fours. But you move around on all fours, you're working your core, you're working your back, you're working your shoulders, and it can feel very comfortable, but you lose those sensibilities, as well. So yeah,
They do a lot of squats too.
Yes.
Like, they always doing squats.
They only do squats. Yeah.
They squatting all day.
Right. It's true. And they know how to swim.
Yeah. That's always cool to see a toddler or baby swimming.
Yeah.
They've been in water for a lot of.
Right, exactly. And they just know they're adaptable. See, that's the thing. You throw them in the water, it's like, okay, well, I'll figure out this environment, because I'm in a space where I'm just figuring out environments right now. Some of them, they figure out, they swim, they do all those things, and they learn 2-3 languages at the same time.
Yeah.
Because it's just sounds. It's not English or Spanish or anything. It's just sound.
Right.
Oh, this sound means this. Okay, cool.
Exactly.
Wow.
I guess we got to kind of go over to the comments a little bit. I see Safta Hava's comment. She said, I think of what Chief said about there is no match for a dishonest woman or man. When you are not standing on Torah, is and then everyone else. Torah will make you look at the lies you tell yourself.
Yes.
I guess it goes back to like trying to validate certain behaviors, with whatever is in your subconscious, I guess. I think you said that last night on the study session.
That's been 4 hours.
I think
a lot.
You did say a lot. You did.
But yeah, there's no match. If you know you're a dishonest, lying individual, you will never have a mate other than, like the scriptures say, a wicked woman is given as a portion to a wicked man. So if you keep screaming, I want a righteous man, you don't get that. That's not for you. You get a wicked man because you're a wicked woman. Period.
What would happen if you scream, I want to be a righteous woman? And you know what I mean? Instead of just, I want this and I want that, why don't you, I want to be what it is that I'm saying
it's
I
not
want.
Going to happen.
She still has to be it.
Yeah,
right, exactly.
She has to be it.
Right.
I didn't hear nothing nobody said.
Oh.
I didn't hear nothing anybody said.
Go ahead, Master Man, let you first. I'll go.
I'll speak at once, please.
I just said you got to be that. You got to just, whether you say you want a righteous man or you want to be a righteous woman, you still got to respect the process and put the work in. Otherwise, you get to the same thing, nothing.
Right.
Yeah, I think about when people say like I want something, it's like, well, do you just think you're just supposed to get it? Like there's work that go into, obtaining things and like or achieving things in life. So it's like I want to be a righteous woman. Like, well, how is that supposed to manifest? It's like it just sounds like an immature statement to even say that.
It is.
Yeah, for someone who hasn't worked for anything in life.
I mean, you
Wouldn't
look
it
at
be a trade
Romans
of
3:10. Romans 3:10 tells you that there's none righteous, not even one. So if you're striving to be, if you say, well, not even striving, you say, I want to be righteous, you want to be something that you know you could never be. That's a cop out. You see, that's a cop out. It's not the same as saying, I'm walking in the truth. Walking in the truth, sometimes you walk, you trip, and you fall. That happens. But I'm walking, I'm trying. Walking means to try. I'm trying, but just to say, you want something that's illusionary, that you've already been told you can't get. Not to mention the fact that the universe responds to a want with more deficit. So if I say I want something, the universe says, okay, I will create a life for you, so you'll always want. So that's yeah. I don't want to be righteous. I'm gonna walk in the ways of righteousness, and let's see how I do. I'm probably not gonna do that great sometimes, but it's an effort moving forward. But to want righteousness, I will always want righteousness, and then I will eventually drive myself crazy. It's like me wanting to be a gender that I'm not. I will never be that gender. No matter what I do, I cannot be that gender, but I want to be it so bad. Eventually, my mind is going to snap. My brain will snap because I've built my life around this want of something that could never be achieved for me. That's insanity.
It sounds.
I just say you can see the insanity. That was a great example. Like you can see the insanity with people like that who want to be something that they're not, and it's just like it's sad.
I have a question for the group, and this has to dealing with raising children, but also preparing the polygynous mindset from a young age, in the sense that some indigenous cultures, what they do, and I don't know exactly which one, but some of them, what they do is they'll have a child, when he's a kid, have an animal, right? Have a pet, whether it's a dog or a gecko lizard or something like that. And the child is responsible for raising that animal, guiding that animal, teaching that animal, and eventually seeing that animal pass away in front of him. And if the person is fortunate, he can witness that his animal or his guardian, in a sense, you can say that, have children of their own and see the life cycle of creation through a guardian pet. And that's a very interesting way some cultures do that, so that people understand before even having a romantic relationship with a person, you've been in a way covering as a young age and seeing that life cycle. Now, for and in some cases, you're able to continue the lineage of that animal throughout your older ages. So even after you're a child, you become a young man or young woman or an adult, the offsprings of that animal you can still be raising, and that being a way to teach polygamy, a way to teach relationship, and a way to teach responsibility in those in that manner. So I just wanted to speak a bit on that and its relation to some of the teachings too.
I wasn't too clear on the question.
So I kind of was, so I can answer it. So I would say that you're speaking about stewardship, and especially when you're speaking about in the context of a husband has to learn the sciences of life and death for all things that he's a steward over in his home. So ultimately, having a pet or any loved one, and having that them go through the life cycle, and you witness the life cycle, it kind of gives you it at what sort of guide us what to do from life to death, as a husband. And this is important just in the science of learning to let go. Learning that all things on the earth are transient, and even your relationships are transient, whether they're polygynous or monogamous. None of your relationships are going to last forever. And that's an important lesson that parents have to know in general. you know
I've had that experience, my Yoruba, because we always had dogs. Like we, I can't remember a time when there are very few periods of life when one of my family members didn't have a dog. I'm talking about immediate family members, and I've seen um, what you were describing. You take care of them when you're young, and you get to watch them grow up from puppies, and they go through a life cycle, and they pass on. Sometimes they have um, a litter of children, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they have a litter of children that don't make it, and they wind up eating the children to get their strength back. I'm saying that. Um, there's also points where they they die of old age, and there are ones who die not of old age. So I've experienced the stewardship the chief was just describing, where you got to make sure they're fed, you got to make sure you walk them, you got to make sure like neighborhood dogs can't mess with them while they're tied, you know. And you also got to make sure they don't get in trouble, because we had this one dog, we used to call him Simba. He's like a golden retriever mixed with a Rottweiler, or something like that, and he could beat every dog on the block. Like he would just run up in other dogs' yards and take their food, and if they complain, he'd beat them up. He's like Debo on the block. So we got to make sure he doesn't get in trouble. The pound call on him or anything like that. So I would say it's a very good lesson in terms of stewardship and making sure that you're responsible. Um, you're a more responsible person because you're responsible for another life. So that's how I respond to that question.
Yeah, and my next question within this that I just remembered was for individuals, is it a prescription that can be prescribed when you say, hey, you know what, you're not ready to court, you're not ready to start a family, you're not ready to start a relationship, you're getting your finances, you're getting your house together. Is it a good prescription to say, take on an animal, take on that form of stewardship to start learning and start that kind
I'd be
of
afraid.
science?
I'd be afraid they kill the dog. That's just me though. Some people are that poor dog. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Or you might want to be careful. They be that person with them like 9, 15 cats and whatnot. They can socialize with them dang on cats, but they can't socialize with another human being. You know what I'm talking about? So yeah.
Yeah, I would say that that's not the way to go. You find those as options that are often given within Eurocentric sort of societies. People will have, dog is man's best friend, and house full of cats and things like that. But that's because these sometimes are people who do not have the social
Yeah.
ability and intelligence to create healthy relationships with humans. So am I clear, by the way? Am I cutting in?
You can hear it.
I'm
Yeah,
okay.
you're clear.
Oh, okay. So anytime you're using an animal who typically oftentimes is a slave, to try to establish some sort of sense of normalcy or consistency, anything like that, it's problematic. I would suggest a person as opposed to using an animal, would grow a garden. You know, yeah, gardens are much more honest with you, and they require more from you in terms of consistency, in terms of nurturing, in terms of learning, you know, and things like that. And it's a sacred experience. But for you to now buddy up next to an unclean animal, a beast, to try to get it to prepare yourself to deal with the divine creation, it won't work. Now you're going into the Eurocentric mindset. And like it was said, like you have people like El Karar said, yeah, people with house full of cats. Some people get stuck in that space,
Yeah.
and are never able to retreat from it.
You might expect people to have the predictability of an animal too. Like you might expect to be able to command someone like a dog, or expect for someone to show up at a certain time like a cat. I put the food out here, and Tinkles is always here every day at 12 p.m. to get her food, and maybe she'll let me pet her, maybe not, and then she just goes on her way.
Yeah. So it would have to be in a balanced way, not in a way as a crutch or an escape. And it came to mind also because I have a brother of mine that I've seen the transformation. He's a very angry person, but since he's been having his two dogs, he's learned a lot more compassion and patience, you know, and nurturing from, and you can see that in his demeanor when you interact with him these days.
Thank you guys. We really appreciate that. Was really a really good question. But we want to welcome Akoti Yafe onto the stage, and Akoti Yafe, jump in when you feel ready to.
Peace, greetings. I was coming in as a result of the question about like using, I guess, the pets. But it made me think of like the covering initiative. Everything was choppy while I was trying to come in, so I wasn't sure what Obama's answer was to that. But I just wanted to share, like, I thought of the covering initiative and I knew, and also going back to something Chief said before about like not trying polygyny. Like you have to be wired that way. And the closest that you're going to get to it, at least the way we do it here, and I knew, is the covering initiative to kind of get you to that point where you're up to speed, where you're not a financial infant, where you know what it is to be a husband, you know, to I guess, for lack of a better word, like practice that husbandry, or to practice how to be a wife, practice how to be a woman, practice what you're supposed to, how to be a helpmeet, basically, as outlined earlier today. That's it.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. All right, this was great. I mean, everything that everyone shared was awesome and great. I didn't expect for so many people to jump on, but I appreciate all who did. Yeah, again, this was like, the segment was like, so it had a lot of information. I definitely look forward to going back and refining my notes. But yeah,
absolutely. I would say for me, closing out, it feels like we're getting ready to close out, but one of the main things that I felt was stress, not really stress, but if you didn't pick up on it, was that Torah is the solution for a lot of these issues. And even as Master mentioned, like, polygamy can be dangerous to a lot of these social conditions that we have suffered for many generations. So I would say for anyone who's tuning in for the first time, to whether it's this segment, House of Yuya, or even the segment that Master did on the Anu Life Global Ministries, I would encourage you to go back and watch the series all the way from the beginning, all the way until the most recent one, because it's definitely filled with a lot of information, insight, gems, and steps so that you can be a righteous family. So with that, does anybody want to say anything before we close out?
For those who are interested in joining ANU, go to anulifeglobal.org. And if you want to sign up for the retreat, go to anulifeglobal.org/retreat. But yeah, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe, like, and share the videos. And that's it. Thank you, everyone, for coming on.
Thank you, sisters. It was beautiful.
Give thanks. Give thanks.
Peace.
Peace, everyone.
Peace. Shabbat shalom.